Hi, I'm Old Norse specialist Dr. Jackson Crawford, and today on my channel about Norse language and literature, supported by my generous Patreon friends, I'm going to talk to you about being lucky and unlucky in Old Norse. Now today we talk about somebody being lucky or unlucky in the same way we talk about them being cold or hot. It's something maybe temporary, maybe kind of situational. But for the Norse, they talk about somebody being lucky or unlucky in the way they talk about somebody being tall or short. Like how tall you are or not, you're going to be that tall throughout your life, even if you maybe make artificial decisions to try to adjust your superficial height, right? Like maybe wearing higher shoes or maybe stooping or something like that to seem shorter. Your luck is a fairly inflexible part of you that I might analogize a little bit to those of you who've played something like a Dungeons & Dragons style role-playing game, a little bit like hit points. You have a certain random number of hit points at the beginning of your life or game session or something, and they can actually be deducted. Things can be done to chisel away, and you might get certain bonuses that add to your base hit points, but there's still a base hit point amount that's sort of arbitrarily assigned to you at birth and is going to mean that you have a fairly high or fairly low level of luck throughout your life. Now, this is going to influence a lot of how you live and also a lot of how other people judge you, because an unlucky person isn't necessarily someone that anybody else wants around. Now, again, this may seem a little bit strange to us, but our literature is not completely without concepts of luck like this. I often cite an exchange in All the Pretty Horses, my favorite novel, by Cormac McCarthy, where John Grady Cole is talking to the aunt of his sort of futile beloved, and he says to her, "You won't let me make my case." To which the aunt replies, "I know your case. Your case is that certain things happened over which you had no control." "It's true," he replies, and she says, "I'm sure it is, but it's no case. I've no sympathy with people to whom things happen. It may be that their luck is bad, but is that to count in their favor?" Right? So it's too bad that you're lucky or unlucky, but you just are, and that's going to make me a little bit less likely to trust that things are going to go your way, and therefore to be willing to associate with you. Right? So we also see, for example, in this notion then that it can kind of rub off on somebody else you associate with. So in Vatnsdæla saga, Geirmundur says to Hrolleifr, "Það sé ek að þú ert en versti óhappamaður og far ó brottu in vonda mannfylla og kom her aldrei." "I see that you are the worst unluck man. Go away, you bad filth of a man, and never come here." Now, he has other reasons for disliking this guy, but a big part of why he is highlighting his lack of willingness to associate with him is he's got bad luck. Now, again, in English, we may see ideas like this kind of residually, especially in fairly old literature, where being unlucky is maybe something that's kind of slightly equated with being morally off. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me might remind us of a sort of similar sentiment. But mostly, I think we have a notion, and I think mostly the Norse do too, that how lucky or unlucky you are actually doesn't necessarily equate to your moral character. Consider a somewhat similar passage in Breaking Bad, in the episode Rabid Dog, where Jesse's talking to Hank, and he says, "Look, you two guys are just guys, okay? Mr. White, he's the devil. You know he is smarter than you, he is luckier than you, and you, whatever you think is supposed to happen, I'm telling you, the exact reverse opposite of that is going to happen, okay?" That reminds me a lot of passages in Old Norse literature, such as in Laxdæla saga, where Bolli warns his friend Kjartan not to burn the king inside his house because "Mund konungur vera giptudrjúgr og hamingju-mikil." The king must be heavy with luck, great in luck, right? Don't fight this guy, he's your enemy. Don't fight him, he's too lucky for you, right? Just like Mr. White is smarter than you, he's luckier than you. Now, mostly we see this mentioned in a more positive way. So for example, families and friends try to sort of share a little bit of luck with each other. Again, in Laxdæla saga, as Höskuldr dies, we read, Síðan let Höskuldr taka gullhring Håkonar naut, hann vó morg, og sverðið konungs naut tilkom hálfmorg gulls, og gaf Ólafi sunni sínum, og þar með giftu sína, og þeirra frænda. Hvað eigi fyrir því þetta mæla, að eigi vissi hann, að hann hafði þar staðar numið. So then Höskuldr took off his ring Håkonarnaut, which weighed a mark, and the sword called the King's Treasure, which came to have a mark of gold, and he gave it to Olaf his son, and with it his own luck and their kinsmen's luck, and said he wouldn't deny he knew that it had already taken residence in him, that the luck had already done so. So there's like a certain amount of your familial luck that kind of maybe stays with the head of the family and then maybe passes to the next head of the family, reflecting that maybe the luck is not necessarily such an individual characteristic, such an individual set of hit points, if you will, but kind of shared by the family as a whole. Kings can also share their luck. Again, in Laxdæla saga, which is a great example of a lot of this, we read where King Haraldr and Gunnhildr lead Olafur Peacock to a ship. They say they will donate some of their luck to him. Leggja til með honum hamingju sína, in addition to the friendship they had already shown him. So, we have lucky days, we have lucky chances. The Norse have truly lucky people, right? And you can see this in names like Leifr in Hepni, Leiv, the lucky, regarded as just inherently lucky. The name, of course, of one of the men claimed to have discovered North America. When we come back, after a brief word from my sponsor, I'm going to share with you a few more scenes that demonstrate some of these principles about luck in Norse literature. So the word for luck in Old Norse is typically gava, gifta, or hap. The first two are related to the root for gift, give, so there's something that's sort of given to you or your family. Hop is more like happenstance. In fact, it's related to English happen, so it maybe has a little bit more of a random sense to it, although they're all used in very much the same way. When we read about people being lucky or unlucky, typically they will be called a man or person mother of one of these characteristics, right? So a gavu mother, giftu mother, or the opposite, an unluck man, o giftu mother, o gavu mother. So for example, in Gisli's saga, chapter 27, talking about the hero Gisli, ok that ok sansacht at egi hefur mer atgervi mother verit en Gisli ne fullhugi, ok þó varð hann egi gavu mother. And it is truly said that no one has been a better man of achievement than Gisli, nor basically fully trustworthy, although he was not a man of luck. We also hear at the end of his life in chapter 36, now Gisli's life ends, and it is said that he has been the most vigorous of men, though he was not in everything a lucky man, which is kind of an understatement about his life. We also see it used as abuse. I cited one example of that already, but let me give you another one that I think is kind of funny, where Revor's mother from the Saga of Revor, which I've given a summary of in another video on this channel, she's shouting at him when he's still a young man who's kind of worthless. Ovad hrys mer hugger við ek sethig frændaskam þína fyrir augum mínum. Og hve mikil ógæfumaður ek var, þó ek ól þín óvita. Everything, I always shudder in my mind when I see you, you shamed your family before my eyes. What a person of bad luck I was when I gave birth to you, moron. And notice there, for those of you following along with the Old Norse lesson, she's calling herself a mother person. It's grammatically masculine, but can mean a woman or person. Doesn't have to mean man. Luck and fate, of course, are rather intertwined. Chapter 1 of Hallfred the Saga of Andra the Skulls gives us the scene where, quote, they left under cover of smoke and ran off across the island. Because of the roar of the fire and its immense size, and because they were not doomed, Fegir, they escaped. Now, A king, of course, as I mentioned before, may be able to share his luck. Kings are also typically regarded as having especially great luck. And just like the head of a family may sort of embody the luck of his whole family, the king may embody the luck of his whole kingdom. So that if the kingdom is lucky in terms of harvests or fishing, that may be blamed on the king or attributed to him. So we have in Snorri Saga of Halfdan the Block, after his death, in his reign, one of great harvest, we read, I'll just give you my translation here. He had been the most harvest fortunate Orsastr of all kings. His people were so fond of him that when word got out about his death and his body was taken to Ringerike and prepared for burial there, his subjects from Romerike, Vestfold, and Hedmark went there and all made a case that they ought to take his body with them and bury him in their part of the kingdom, as each thought there would be good harvest for whoever got the body. But they settled it in this way, that his body was cut into 4 pieces. His head was buried at Stein and Ringerike, and each party took their part of the body home and buried it there, and those are all called Halfdan's mounds. So on the theory that his body retains his luck, even though he died in a kind of stupid, unlucky way, he sledded across a patch of ice where some cows had defecated and thus warmed the ice enough that it melted when he sledded over it. He's still regarded as having this sort of luck that might impact harvest and fishing in the kingdom where his body's buried. So they can't agree on where to bury him, so they bury different parts of his body in all these different parts of the kingdom. It's a really, it's superstitious in a way, but of course in pre-scientific ages and even in post-scientific ages, obviously today, people kind of don't want to take chances and they want to use whatever they think is going to be lucky, whatever sort of worked for them before, or whatever they're sort of convinced didn't not work for them before. And it takes a rare and brave person to not subscribe to that kind of superstition. As we read this little poem by Steinar in Cormac Saga, who's one of these rare people who doesn't believe in this kind of luck, he says, Livdak lengi, letk roða goð, havdak aldri hosu mosræða, batk aldri mer belg at hosi urtafulan, þó ekki en livi. I've lived a long time, I've let the gods rule, I have never had moss red socks. I never tied a herb full bag to my neck, though I am still alive. And apparently these bags of herbs tied to the neck or these moss red socks might have been like a lucky rabbit's foot or a lucky pair of socks at the time. So I hope going forward in your lives that you all are lucky and hopefully that nothing happens to impact your luck or mine in the years to come. Well, as usual, from beautiful Colorado, let me encourage you to check out my many hundreds of other videos about these subjects, my books, which are translations of some of the most important works of Norse literature, and my Patreon, which helps me sustain this channel and keep going with what I hope are informative, interesting videos made in beautiful places in my Rocky Mountain homeland, Colorado and Wyoming. For now, from beautiful Colorado, let me wish you all the best. The whole point of this video channel, the whole point of my books, is to bring good information about these subjects to the people who want it in the places where they're looking for it online. Otherwise, the people who know what they're talking about are all trying to impress each other, talking to each other in the ivory tower, and they're never reaching out to the public. The people who are reaching out to the public on YouTube or wherever else mostly are scared, angry people trying to spread centuries-old, cartoonish, racialist theories and crazy mysticism that has nothing to do with our medieval sources. I want to bring good information about our real medieval sources straight to you in the places where you're looking for it, without an agenda, without trying to set myself up as some ivory tower super genius who's better than you. You can help me do that by donating small monthly amounts on my Patreon. And everyone who does that has my everlasting thanks for your incredible generosity and the way that you help me make a university of my favorite place in the world, the Great Rocky Mountain Outdoors. Well, from now, from the middle of beautiful Colorado, let me wish you good thinking, good skepticism, and all the very best.